Good morning, everybody. John Fiocchi here from GAI Insights. And today we're going to go through 6 fantastic new things about what's going on in the AI world for our busy executive. This is sponsored by Custom GPT .ai, a wonderful tool to make your large language model or chatbot yourself in a secure environment on a cloud basis, very inexpensive to start and easy to scale. So with that, I turn it over to David DeLallo, who's going to take us through today's news. David.
All right, thank you. I'm back after a short hiatus overseas, but I'm glad to be back, but still fighting through the jet lag. Although that's beneficial for this because I'm waking up at like 5 a.m. So I'm much more awake than normal. Okay, so this week, I think we actually cut it down to 5 articles. There was one that was kind of like not all that significant. So we've got a few articles where we'll look at some use cases, one potential use case by the U.S. Navy, and then we will look at a significant piece of research aimed at making models a little smaller and more efficient to run. So, Ankaj, what do we have first?
Yes, so they were just waiting for my screen to come up.
Okay.
Just a sec. Here we go. There we are. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So first, we're looking at several ways that Walmart is using generative AI in production and in a significant way. John, why don't you tell us a little about their use cases and what you think about?
Yeah, it's really quite interesting. They're using generative AI to help them with voice ordering. They're helping the associates in the store find things. They're helping individuals, basically find the best product for their need by describing, what they're trying to accomplish, not the things that they're looking for. So I want to have a barbecue. I want to have a birthday party, whatever. I want to, fix my porch. And it helps you find all the stuff you need underneath it. As we used to say when I was teaching marketing, people don't buy power drills. What they buy is holes in their wall. That's what they want. So they're trying to sell you the hole in the wall. Yes, I put it as important. It's kind of, if you click down underneath, it's kind of a rewrite of a press release from Walmart. So the Forbes reporter really didn't seem like they dug a lot. We've reported on Walmart before, but I would say it's important. Here we have, a company whose whose revenues are about 2/3 the entire country of Australia. So it's pretty important when they put it in the core of their business. So
is that a shot at me, John?
What's that?
Using Australia specifically for comparison?
No. I love Australia. It's an easy comparison.
There was one use case in here, and I think we saw it in an article that we reviewed a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That is interesting to me, where they're using it for to do negotiations with their suppliers. And I specifically noticed that too, because I was having a conversation with someone, I think just last week, we were talking about a Wall Street Journal article. It was an opinion piece talking about like what skills would be important going forward, given generative AI is here. And one of the skills that it mentioned was negotiation. And I had said to my friend, I said, I don't think actually that you'll need that quite as much because, we'll have agents kind of negotiating on our behalf in the ether. And then sure enough, I saw this use case and I sent it to him. So that one definitely stuck out to me. I was borderline important, essential, because when I think about our audience and the fact that they're sorting through probably like hundreds or dozens of use cases that are potential for their business. I just think it's always interesting to see how, such a large company has chosen to put it in some, significant places this early on. So I could be convinced essential, but Adam, what you can kind of
I was on the fence. I was on the fence between important and optional at first, and as we've spoken, I've gone up to between important and essential. Actually, given the size of Walmart, given the speed at which they've come to market with all of this, given how many really good use cases that apply cross industry and cross vertical are highlighted here, I could be convinced essential as well, and maybe we're we're talking John into it also. But yeah, it's significant. And like what I hear, especially in your comment, David, about them having agents, right, to negotiate on their behalf, the companies like Walmart that get their agents negotiating for them while the other end of the transaction is still being done by humans are going to see massive gains in the early days of this age, until we have these agentic systems and we have the parity, right? There's just a massive differential to them in terms of the cost advantage of being able to negotiate now, right? Or be able to answer customer service emails or whatever it is through voice systems, or drive more business into market, right? So it's they're going to be one of the early people that we see really reaping this exponential profit, while there's this inequality in terms of one side spinning up these agents and the other side is still using humans.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, if you ever talk to anybody who's negotiated with Walmart, they already have it down to a science. I mean, they bring in, it sounds like an interrogation. They bring in this like really simple room, and anyway, it's quite something. All right, so essential.
All right, we've bumped it up to essential. Next.
Okay. The next one we have is from Reddit. So Reddit has signed a new data deal with an unnamed large AI company, and the company will be paying around 60 million on an annualized basis to Reddit for its data.
All right, we'll go to Adam first on this one. What did you think?
I was on the fence between important and optional, and I'll say why. So what's interesting here and important, I think, is that in terms of legal compliance and training models in an ethical manner, it's nice to see whomever it is, which hasn't been announced, is going about it the way that's really, I think, modeling the sort of leadership we want to see in the space, right? And actually paying for user-generated content rather than scraping it is the right way forward. And I think that's important to highlight. As I mentioned, we don't know who it is, which makes it optional news. It seems a little more like a press release and just trying to spin up some goodwill towards the valuation of Reddit going into their offering because they're going public. And I also see it's optional in that it's 60 million, right, revenue increase. But that's, I did the math, that's about 6% increase in their revenue. They're currently at 800 million and they're trying to get to $1 billion. So really in the bigger scheme of things for them, it's not a significant deal, right, in terms of their valuation on the market. So I kept it as optional.
Yeah, it's I mean, we would assume it's not OpenAI, right? That's making this deal, because they had been, and as the article noted, they had been offering around 5 million a year. So I almost,
or it might be that much more significant that OpenAI is willing to pay a premium for this user-generated content.
I know.
Reddit is some gold. Like,
speculation abounds. Like, you know, my spidey sense would be that this is Apple, because we know they were offering more, but, you know, TBD. I guess I was also on the border of optional and important because of the exact same reasons that you mentioned. Did you have a bent one way or the other, John?
Yeah, I'm on the border as well. I'd go for optional until, because when this deal gets announced, it'll get announced and we'll cover it.
there'll be more news.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll say optional. Keep it on your radar. When the deal lands, it may become important.
Yeah.
All right, what do we have next?
Okay, the next one is from WSJ. So it's an article outlining how few companies who are starting to use GenAI to improve their business are also seeing some kind of improvement.
Yeah, so I assigned this to myself since we have a skeletal crew due to the holiday. So
I think of it as an elite crew, not skeletal.
That's right. We have our top analysts today. So this is an interview, and the companies represented are Boston Consulting Group, Ally Financial, and Cisco. And I rated this as important. I think there's several interesting tidbits here. Definitely interesting to see a few of the ways that BCG has said that they are working on generative AI projects, and the fact that they said they have 150 active projects right now with clients. They talked about use of it in insurance, specifically in underwriting and claims. And then I believe Cisco, I'm trying to remember which way that they were using it. One of the companies, Ally or Cisco, was using it in customer service, but not to respond to customer service calls, but actually to summarize the calls so that the agents did not have to do that any longer. And the summaries are produced so that they can train their employees. I was kind of surprised, and
I think that was Ally. Yep.
I was at LA. I don't remember us noting this when I believe, went through the survey that the BCG person here was talking to, where they said that $50 million is kind of like the bar for investment into generative AI to actually like get the hardware and the people and the training in place to do it. And they felt that that was kind of like a threshold, which, I mean, that's concerning for a smaller company, right? That's not going to be able to afford that much. And I don't know whether we actually agree that you need that much. I'd be interested to hear what you guys say. But yeah, I rated this as important because of a lot of different little pieces of information that I thought were good.
Yeah, I think, look, my guess is this is BCG with 2 customers out there. And, yeah, if you have BCG do it, probably, it's going to cost you money. But I mean, they even say in here with the Ally thing, they cost them $500,000 to put it up, 20 grand a month to run it, and they save 1 to 2 minutes per customer service rep. They have a lot of customer service reps. I got to believe that the ROI and that's pretty outstanding. The $50 million, I don't know. I mean, that's a big company across a bunch of stuff. I just think they pulled that number, out of the air myself. Certainly, I mean, we have lots of evidence that smaller companies can get going and do interesting things for next to nothing. So I get it. BCG talking about big companies. What's $50 million to Ally? Not a lot of dough, really.
Well, I'll be the cynic here and say that I rated it as optional. It all seemed like pretty obvious stuff to me. Streamlining processes, improving outcomes. It's all the stuff we'd expect generative AI to be used for. You could literally read the subheading. Early adopters are putting a lot of money into these new systems and they're finding it's paying off, and be done with it. I don't think it's necessarily a good use of a busy executive's time.
And what was your reading, John?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Adam's tone. I just think that he's the problem I used to have when I was talking to a doctoral student deep in an area. They're like, well, this is obvious. It's like, yeah, it's obvious to you because you know what you're talking about, but it's not obvious to the world at large. So
the use cases seemed like pretty standard use cases that are the ones that keep getting adopted and brought up, though. And
fair enough.
So,
okay, I could go either way. I don't feel.
That's all. What was there anything real? I mean, the thing that convinced me towards important, David, was the 50 million and the 20K a month. Honestly, like for that reason alone, it might be worth people, executives considering their strategy and considering if that's what it costs to play at that table, they might start looking at other alternatives.
Yeah, since I hold the gavel today, I'm going to say important. It is a short article. If it was a long slog to get those couple of tidbits, I might say differently, but I think given it's a short read and it's got some messages, although I think we'll caveat in our newsletter not to be scared by that number. Keep in mind, BCG is just looking to make a buck, but we'll go with important on this one.
All righty. Sounds good. Akash, what's next?
Okay, the next one is from Navy. So Navy is exploring GenAI to automate security classification.
All right, John, you're up first.
Yeah, I thought, this looked to me like optional because, look, it's an important thing about having something automatically classify something. So I'm in the middle of an email and I'm trying to send something, is this all of a sudden become classified? Because one of the examples they give is, satellite. So can I say there's a satellite? Yes, I can say there's a satellite, but I can't give any kind of coordinates or how they communicate with it or anything like that. As soon as you do that in an email, it becomes classified. Yeah, I put it as optional because, people are going to do this. I didn't think it was deployed. It was like kind of a thought piece.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is going to happen. This is classification. And then, you have the whole thing about, how the surveillance state has overclassified anything, if it's, they classified a note on a napkin kind of thing. It's nutty. So it's I do believe that optional.
I'd say it's an important concept, but really, like the use case you were saying of the call center and summarizing the calls, that it's basically equivalent to that, right? Except the Navy doing it, so that's optional. It's just another use case, another application for summarization in some ways. So it's a great idea. It's important work, and it'll extend to a lot of companies in terms of making sure that their data is being properly classified. But I rated it optional as well.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I feel like it's a little more than summarization. It's classification. It's data classification, basically.
Yeah,
I would still say optional, but I would say note the potential, transferable use case here to your specific business. To our
well, I will note how far the what is considered normal has moved. When there was software like this thought about and initially implemented by, I think, Fernando Flores back in the 80s, people called it Naziware because it was spying on you and paying attention to everything you did and routing things. And now it's like, yeah, of course, classify it, whatever. Big Brother's watching me, it's fine.
Yes.
Just like our tolerance for surveillance has moved remarkably.
Yeah, and I was somewhat amused that in the article they said that they asked these questions of Bard, and they basically had to trick Bard into providing answers to hey, how would you classify this particular piece of data, because Bard was obviously thinking this person was trying to do something nefarious, probably break into the data. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, we'll go optional on this one, and we will go to our last piece, which is a piece of research.
Yes, so this is a new research paper, and they have proposed an approach called SLEB for reducing transformers block level redundancies to increase the speed of LLM inference.
Adam, what do you think?
I rated this as optional. It's research. It's, I think, the third or at least the second that we've discussed on here pruning technique we've seen in the last month or so. It is significant and it's interesting. It's certainly interesting for me. I can explain a little. They were using an NVIDIA A100 GPU with the Llama 2 model. And they basically went into the model and they looked for redundancies and they just removed them to make the model a little more compact. And as a result, though, they said it was a 26% increase in the latency for prompt processing, meaning they would process the prompts faster. And it also had a 27% increase in the throughput, meaning how many tokens per second it could, so both basically the bandwidth and the speed of response were increased by 25+%. So it's exciting research, and it'll continue to make our models faster, smaller, more responsive, but it is research and it's another technique, so it's optional news.
Yeah, and I used a little bit of Chat GPT to interact with the document, and I think the difference that they said here between what they did and kind of the pruning that we've heard about is that they were not kind of hunting out specific parameters to pluck out, but they were kind of seeking bigger blocks of the model that performed certain functions to see, if they were duplicative of another block performing the same function, that they pulled that out. So it's good to see these techniques, coming online so that we can minimize energy, and obviously it minimizes cost. But yeah, it sounds optional for the moment, as it's not actually being used necessarily. So I think that's it. So I think we ended up with 2 important articles, a couple optionals, the importance, maybe 3. I didn't take good notes. 3 important,
Yeah,
2 to do with use cases.
So yeah, we have 1 essential, 1 important, and 3 optional.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We bumped up to essential on the Walmart.
Right, Walmart.
So
the amazing Walmart. Yes.
Right. Essential Walmart article, important, another article about use cases, and 3 optionals. So light reading for your holiday today. And I think that's a wrap. And
that's a wrap.
We will see you tomorrow morning when people are back at it at work.
All right. And just want to again thank our sponsor, customgpt.ai, a great tool to make your own models. Thanks, everybody. Hope you find this useful and look forward to talking tomorrow. Bye-bye.